Good morning, everybody, and happy Thursday, and a special happy Thursday it is today because we want to say Happy Veterans Day. Thank you to all those veterans out there who have served. When you see a veteran, it's very appropriate for you to reach out to them and say thank you for your service. We celebrate this day by honoring those who sacrifice so much for us to have the freedoms that we have. So thank you, veterans, for your service, and this day is for you. Once again, this week, we have invited Ms. Crew to be part of our weekly update. Hello, Ms. Crew.
Hello.
We have some things to talk to you about today. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Crew. She's going to guide us through our conversation about the last couple of days and as we move forward between now and January.
So as most people know, weekly updates typically come out on Wednesdays. So yesterday we were hard at work getting through weekly update, including information about some new programs coming out, our Test to Stay program. And then there was an announcement made that the Pennsylvania court had rolled back the mandate, which has been in place since late August, I think August 31st. So we quickly got together, reviewed our health and safety plan, which is, would you say it's kind of our fallback when anything like the mandate would sort of disappear? We sent the information out to our community, and then mere moments after we hit send, another update came through saying that the masking mandate is still in place. So Mr. Rizzo, can you explain a little bit about mask, unmask, mask, unmask, mask, which is kind of how it feels like it went like that yesterday.
Yeah, that absolutely is how it felt like it went yesterday. So absolutely everything you said is spot on. We did receive notification through actually through media that the decision to the Secretary of the Department of Health's order was not valid through the means that she went through to push that onto us. So it was found, I guess, by a vote of 4-1, it was found to not be a legal, appropriate way to do that. So that meant a lot to our community. That meant a lot to our state, because that meant that mandate was lifted. And what a lot of people interpreted that to mean was that means that mask mandates are not legal. And that's really not what it meant. What it meant was the procedure they went through was not legal. But we still, because we answered the Pennsylvania Department of Education and also linked to our ARP ESSER grant funding, we are required to have an approved health and safety plan in place. So as soon as that order was lifted, for the few minutes that it felt like it was lifted, we immediately reverted back to our health and safety plan that was approved back, I think, August 23rd is whenever it was approved. Mm-hmm. So that plan meant that we follow levels of community transmission for Spring-Ford's footprint. So when you go to our dashboard and you visit that, you'll see where that number is delineated. Our Spring-Ford level of community transmission is circled, and then the number of cases per Spring-Ford, the community, not the district. Oh, there we go. We're going to it now.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look.
Yeah, sure. So what you'll see is you'll see that the H is circled, and that means that we're high this week. And what I think our community needs to realize is that we change status based on 2 consecutive weeks of high, substantial, moderate, or low. So once we hit 2 weeks of substantial in a row, then we'll move that circle down to substantial. But below that, you'll see each week what that number was, that Spring-Ford number. So for last week, we were 105.85. So once the order was temporarily lifted or removed, we reverted to our health and safety plan, which from masking standpoint didn't make a difference. We were still going to have to mandate masks based on our health and safety plan. Then we received notification after we informed our community that the governor appealed that decision. And because he appealed that decision, we, as a community, continue to follow the order because immediately a stay was also issued. And that just means that until the appeal process is through, we continue as we were, which means that the order is still in effect until the appeal process is done. We don't know what that time frame is going to be. We just know for us here at Spring-Ford, the practical means, we are following the order still until that appeal process is completed.
And we already know, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say a little bit of just a little bit of back and forth, but in the end, it really didn't change much in terms of our approach towards masking right now.
We already know that the governor had released, I think last week or earlier this week, information that he would be lifting the masking mandate statewide as of January 17th or after January 17th, and it would go back to local school districts to make decisions. So let's fast forward and say that we were in January 17th time right now. We would then fall back on this health and safety plan. So that plan, which was created in August, is still in place. It feels different now than it did in August, because in August we were probably in low or moderate. So we were following low and moderate. So when we started school that first week or two, our K-6 students were masked, and our 7-12 students were recommended that they be masked. Again, we were in a different level then. We've been in high for quite a bit. So according to the health and safety plan, in high, we're all masked.
That's correct. At this point, we're still moving forward in alignment with our health and safety plan. Were there to be any changes to our health and safety plan, that would have to happen at the board level. So we would be having that discussion and proposing some sort of a revision. And then once approved, that would take place on a date the board specified for it to take place.
And it's my understanding the health and safety plan is sort of a living document, in that the state wants school districts to review it. Is it every 6 months?
Correct. Every 6 months we have to review it. So our deadline, because we approved it in August, our deadline would be February. So in our February board meeting, at the latest, we would have to have a conversation about revising it or approving it to continue moving forward. And as things change and as vaccines are now becoming available for our 5 to 11-year-olds, I suspect there's going to be some revisions coming soon.
Great. That helps. I think it was definitely, I think everybody felt like there was a case of whiplash across the state yesterday, with some surprising news, some confusing news, and then even more surprising news at the end of the day.
Sure.
We also have a video that I'll clip to the end of this explaining the new Test to Stay program, which will roll out on Monday next week for all of our students. You're a Test to Stay expert, so can you give us a little bit of information about that?
Absolutely. So we did discuss this at the board level, I guess a few weeks ago, and essentially a Test to Stay program really just means that if a student is identified as a close contact, they have an opportunity to remain in school instead of doing what we have normally done in terms of quarantining. So a student that is next to somebody who tests positive or is positive, they would normally have to quarantine. But when the school nurse contacts the parent to say your child is a close contact, they will have an additional option now. And that option is to test to stay. So if a parent decides to opt their child into this program, what that means is they will register for the rapid test. They will, if they haven't already done so, they'll go into Skyward and give their consent to participate in the testing program. Once those two steps are in place, then our school-based testing teams will implement what we call the rapid antigen test, which is a 15-minute results test. They'll do that in a designated spot in the school, and we have teams in each school to do that. So parents will not need to drive their child anywhere. They'll be able to do it right when they come in school. They'll receive this test, and within 15 minutes, we'll get the result. And providing they remain asymptomatic and they get a negative test result on the rapid antigen test, they will be able to remain in school. Now, there are some caveats to that, right? So they will need to make sure that during that time that they have a mask on at all times. They will need to make sure that when they're eating in the cafeteria, that mask stays on when they're not eating and they're socially distanced. And they will, the recommendation is that alternate transportation is provided, but we also know that sometimes that provides a hardship to families. So busing will still be available, again, in a socially distanced manner. Providing all those conditions are able to be met, then they will continue in the Test to Stay program until that day 5 to 7 window where they get their final test. Once that's negative, they're exited from the program on day 8, just like they would do a test out of quarantine type thing. And then they would no longer be testing and they would be moving forward, and those extra layers would be lifted.
So there are two, there's a list actually on the website of student eligibility requirements. There are two pieces I don't think we touched on yet to really drive home, is that one, this is for students who have been identified as in-school close contacts. So it is a program specific for school districts. It's not, I was a close contact because I was playing community league soccer over the weekend, or I was a close contact because I went to a sleepover at a friend's house who wasn't in school. It's an in-school close contact program.
That's absolutely correct. It's and in school is defined as during the school day or participating in a school-sponsored activity. And I guess another little caveat to that is if you're not participating in the school-sponsored activity, your testing cadence is every other day. If you are doing the Test to Participate program, which is part of the Test to Stay program, that's an everyday testing to continue to participate in that sport or activity.
And then also it's one of the other eligibility requirements, which again, these come from Montgomery County, is for unvaccinated or partially vaccinated students.
Yeah, that's a really important point. Once you're fully vaccinated, there's no need for you to quarantine, so there's no need for you to participate in the Test to Stay program. It's for the unvaccinated, and again, the vaccination process, and I know some parents are now going through that process with their 5 to 11-year-olds. Fully vaccinated means 2 weeks after you receive that second dose.
So we will have a bunch of information in weekly updates and this week and weeks going forward. But an action step we do have for parents right now is to go into Skyward and complete the parent consent form. You can say either yes or no, but it's really important that we have a solid yes or no from parents, because once the program starts and our schools are identifying close contacts, we want to make sure that we have the most accurate and up-to-date correct information on file for our students.
That's absolutely correct. We're excited about the program because it's going to help keep students in school, which is where they should be.
Well, I have a short video that I'll loop to the end of this video about the Test to Stay program, an overview, a little bit of information about the program itself. We said last week, it's not the test that goes back to your brain. It just tickles the inside of your nose. So we have that video at the end of this. We'll also link it out separate so you can watch as many times as you want without having to watch the entire weekly update video. So that'll be there for parents.
So there's a lot of information on the website. So thank you for getting that information out there. Certainly, if you have questions, you can contact your school nurse. They'll be able to help you with that as well. And again, we're here if you need anything. Again, I want to say thank you to Ms. Crew for joining us this week. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day. And again, thank you to our veterans for their service. And we'll have a great day. We'll see you next week.
The Montgomery County Office of Public Health recently updated the guidelines on quarantining students to allow a school-based Test to Stay program. Participating school districts will be allowed to offer a voluntary rapid antigen test in the school for asymptomatic students identified as in-school close contacts. The ultimate goal of the Test to Stay program is to minimize the need to quarantine healthy students. In this video, we'll review how to register your student with PA Rapid Test, as well as the testing process itself. First, let's start by creating an account with PA Rapid Test. You'll enter your student's first and last name, their date of birth, sex, race, ethnicity, and your parent contact information. So here, you'll enter your parent email address as well as your parent phone number. You should not enter student information in the contact section of this form. You'll also be prompted for a personal identifier, which you do not need to fill in. On the next page, you'll complete your student's home address information, and then click Submit. Once you click Submit, you will receive a personal QR code for your student. Parents will be required to send this QR code to the school nurse before administering the test. You can do that by either sending a screenshot of the QR code, or if you completed the form on a computer, you can save the form as a PDF and email it to the school nurse. Students will be
Is
asked a
this
series
a
of
tested
short,
state
health-related
or
questions
does
the day of their
individuals without
test.
symptoms? Yes.
The test administrator
When-
will be able to
how long
help
after
our younger
exposure?
students
5
answer any
minutes.
of these questions before moving on to the test itself. The tester will sync the test with the student's personal QR code and will guide the student through the testing process. To perform the test, a nasal swab specimen will be collected from the student by rubbing the swab tip along the inside of the nose for 20 seconds in each nostril. Test results will be visible in 15 minutes based on the presence or absence of a detectable pink or purple colored line. Each test will be labeled and processed, and results will be logged into the PA Rapid Test system. A notification will be sent to parents using the contact information they entered when creating their student's account. It's important to make sure that both your email address and cell phone number are correct when entering that information. If a student tests positive, the parent will be contacted immediately by a school COVID liaison.